Okay, so back again. This time it's for some GCSE geography tips. Now this exam is going to be your physical exam. This is paper 1. This one's going to be based on rivers and rocks, as people like to say. In terms of the main things to focus on for this paper, and generally to do with geography as a whole, case studies is one thing that I think everyone always mentions, and a lot of people usually get stressed about how to memorize them, which ones to memorize and things like that. I would personally say just try and shove as much of that into your memory as you can. What I did, in fact, was I put so much random bits of data and numbers in my head that I went into the exam and I just kind of like forced them out straight away before I actually started the questions, so I didn't have to worry about that getting lost in my head. In terms of the case studies and how to remember them and what to remember, there are some really big ones that you need to know, right? Those ones, if you are unsure with what to remember from them, any sort of information about them, I would recommend the website Core Geography. That website's got a lot of good information. It's got some quizzes and stuff as well. In terms of how you use those case studies, when you're doing any one of those long mark questions, you just kind of embed them in with what you're talking about, and a lot of the time just simply name dropping and writing any facts in is usually enough. You don't need to be too detailed in the way you're explaining these. It's not like English lit again. You're not trying to give the context and everything behind all of these facts and figures. Also, another thing, this is something that if you are stuck and you are like, you have nothing else to write about, this is something that I may have done, and I definitely would say if you can't do anything else, I would recommend for you to do this. And I would say to make up stats and figures if you have nothing in your brain. As long as they sound reasonable, you should be fine. So usually with these type of questions, whether it's these really long ones or some of the shorter ones as well, sometimes adding in a bit of information is always helpful. And if you don't know any information, you can always just make up a statistic. As long as it works and it makes sense and it's not something stupid, then it should be fine. And as long as it's backing what you're talking about, right, and it's relevant to what you're saying, then it will hopefully get you those marks. And if it's just there for no reason and you just put it in to sound better, it's just going to backfire on you. So you just have to be a little careful with making them up and putting these facts and figures in, but they are very useful in terms of getting those higher marks and getting the 9. And another thing I want to touch upon, and this is something that I found quite useful to just keep in mind when I'm doing these geography papers, is that to pay attention to the way they're asking you to do certain questions. Okay, so these are known as command words within the AQA papers. I think it's the same with other exam boards as well, but you can search this online as well. There's a list of command words that they use which give you a hint in what they want out of you. So for example, let's say the question is asking you to describe 2 things shown in a graph. Okay, all you need to do is to tell me what those 2 things are. You don't need to explain why they're the case. Just tell me, oh, this one's bigger than this, or this one's 3 times the size of this one, or there's a positive correlation. Anything like that is fine. That's a description. That will get you the marks. And just knowing that will prevent you from overwriting or writing things that you don't need to, or perhaps even writing the wrong things and so losing out on the marks. Another thing they could ask is explain. And if they ask you to explain, not only do you have to write whatever trend you see, you have to say why that could be the case, and you have to actually use that geography knowledge that you have to try and explain the certain concepts, right? Even though this sounds very much like common sense, in the exam, a lot of people tend to write things they don't need to, and they end up wasting time, or they write the wrong things and they lose marks. So you need to be really, really clear with your answers and actually answer what they're asking from you. And you have to just keep in mind if they're saying describe or explain or evaluate as well. Evaluate's a good one, because evaluate means that you're not only looking at the good sides, but you have to look at the bad sides as well. You have to weigh out both sides of it and then put a conclusion at the end as well. All of those is necessary for an evaluate question. For something like compare, you need to be able to say not only are different, but also the things that are similar, because those are the ones that people always miss out on. When you're comparing 2 things, you have to say what's the same and what's different. You can't just focus on what's different, because you're not actually comparing fully. So those are things that deduct marks from people when they really shouldn't have lost those marks, and they should have really gotten those marks. So I would just say keep in mind those command words and be very, very clear with how you're answering these questions, so you don't waste your time and you actually write the things you need to write. And apart from that, genuinely, I don't have much else you can say for geography. Just go over the specification, make sure you're clear with each of the different aspects that you've learned as a score. Know what you're going to actually write about, because you have different sections that different scores do, and you need to be able to write the right ones. You don't want to be there doing glaciers when your score never did glaciers. So be clear with what you're actually revising, what you're actually going to answer when you get into your exam, and go over those case studies obviously, and also just be clear with how you're answering those questions when you get to the exam. And apart from that, I have nothing more to say. So good luck for your exam, and hopefully I see you very, very soon. Happy that the exam went well, and yeah, bye for now. See you in the next one.